If you're a Warriors fan, you've probably already found yourself thinking, how long will the team depend on Curry's miracles to remain competitive? Between injuries, fluctuations, and strange decisions by the board, it gives that feeling that the golden era is slipping through your fingers, right? Today, a decision by Curry himself promises to change all that, for better or worse. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. What's really behind this choice, why it could define the future of the franchise, and, most importantly, what's the path for the Warriors to once again be the team that no one wants to face in the playoffs. Before we go behind the scenes of Curry's decision, do the following now. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and activate the bell. It seems simple, but that's what makes YouTube understand that you're a real fan and want to get the latest Warriors news before everyone else. Here there is no recycled news or nonsense. It is direct analysis, fan emotion, and reading of what the board is really doing with the future of the franchise. So, if you're tired of finding out everything late, this is the time to join the team. Click subscribe, hit like, turn on notifications, and stay with me until the end, because I'm going to show you step by step what Curry's decision really means, and why it could be the turning point that every Warriors fan has been waiting for. If you've been following the Warriors for a while, you know that this team has experienced it all. Finals, titles, new beginnings, magical moments, and phases in which nothing seems to fit. But the current phase has a different weight. The feeling is that the Golden State is at a crossroads. Either find a new direction, or run the risk of seeing an entire era unravel before our eyes. And in the midst of this whirlwind, two names are at the center of it all: Jonathan Kuminga and, of course, Stephen Curry. Let's start with Kuminga. Before the injury, he was not just another young man with potential. He had achieved something important: the coach's trust and a place in the starting five. 12 games starting, high energy, impact on both sides of the court. It wasn't perfect, it fluctuated, it made mistakes, but you saw there a piece that could be fundamental in the Warriors' transition between the glorious past and the future that is still being designed. But the body took a toll. This bilateral tendinitis in the knees, which at first seemed simple, took on another dimension. Instead of missing a game or two, Kuminga sat out more than 2 weeks. 7 matches away from the courts. 7 games in which Golden State had to do without his explosiveness in transition, without his ability to attack the rim, without that versatile body that helps cover defensive holes and change the pace of the game. While he was gone, the impact was evident. The attack, which had already been oscillating, lost even more fluidity. The team had difficulty finding easy baskets, possessions seemed heavier, and the feeling was of a team that needed to fight hard to score. For a squad that has always shined with movement, cuts without the ball, and quick reading, seeing this attack stuck is almost a visual shock. Steve Kerr had to change everything: rotations, player combinations, roles on the court. Instead of thinking about how to evolve what was already working, he had to take a step back and fill holes. Players who were used to one role began to assume another. Some grew, others felt the weight. And in this scenario, Kuminga's absence was not just statistical, it was structural. And then came another blow: Stephen Curry's injury against the Houston Rockets. Tight score, end of game, intensity up there. In a sequence of contact plays, he suffers a blocking foul on Amen Thompson, goes for the layup on the next play, and ends up receiving an attacking foul. Shortly after, he feels his right quadriceps and needs to leave the court with just over 35 seconds on the clock. When Curry leaves a game like that, the gym feels it. The bank feels it. You, on the other side of the screen, feel it. It's not just the best pitcher in history walking into the locker room. It's the center of gravity of the entire franchise leaving the scene. And even if the initial diagnosis speaks of an injury, something that, in theory, is less serious than a ligament or ankle injury, any physical problem in a 37-year-old player who carries such offensive responsibility raises all the alarms. The plan now involves exams, MRI, daily monitoring. The coaching staff tries to remain optimistic, and it's true. A quadriceps injury is very different from a chronic knee injury or a serious sprained ankle. But, from a sporting point of view, the question is different. How long can this team remain competitive without depending on heroic nights from Curry? And, moreover, how long can he sustain the level at which he has been playing, with an average of almost 28 points, more than 4 assists, and all the attention he receives from opposing defenses? When you look at the numbers coldly, the picture is worrying. The Warriors' attack is just at the bottom of the league in efficiency. We are not talking about a team with specific difficulties, but about a system that often seems to live on individual flashes instead of a well-adjusted gear. Even with Curry on the court, the team sometimes chokes on half-court attacks, makes hasty decisions, wastes important possessions, and is unable to punish opponents' defensive failures with the same precision as in other years. That's where Kuminga's return takes on another dimension. He's not just another body returning to the rotation. He represents a type of asset that the Warriors are missing today, a player who can create a physical advantage, attack the rim with power, run in transition, defend multiple positions, and on good nights, change the emotional tone of the game. A block, a dunk, a sequence of good saves. These are moves like that rekindle the confidence of a group. But his reintegration is not simple. You need to manage minutes, respect your body's time, avoid overload. The coaching staff needs to find a balance between making the most of Kuminga's energy and protecting him for the long term. All this in a tight schedule, with decisive games, travel, little training time, and uncertainty about Curry's real physical condition. When we look at it from the outside, it just seems like a matter of getting the player back on the court. But inside, it's a delicate checkerboard. If you push too hard, you may lose the player for longer. If he holds back too much, he risks wasting an important window in which he could help regain the team's confidence. And, behind this, there is another silent element: chemistry. A team is not just the sum of talents. It's the way these talents connect. The Warriors, during the golden era, were the perfect example of this. Today, the challenge is to rescue this identity, knowing that the cast has changed, some stars have reached their age, and the entire league has evolved. Defenses are more prepared, the physical volume of games has increased, the margin for error has decreased. In this context, each match has a greater weight than the table shows. It's not just a victory or a defeat. It's a test of identity, a laboratory for rotations, an opportunity to see what combinations work, who responds under pressure, what kind of basketball this team is still capable of playing. Kuminga's return, the way he fits in again, the way the veterans react, it's all part of a bigger story. And it is precisely in this bigger story that the point that scares fans the most comes into play: the rumors about Stephen Curry's possible departure. For years, the idea of seeing him in another shirt seemed almost absurd, something reserved for hypothetical discussions between fans. But, for some time now, the whispers that were discreetly emerging in the Bay Area began to take shape, spread through groups of executives, and reach the news. There are those who say that Curry, for the first time, is seriously reflecting on his future outside of Golden State. We're not talking about some empty off-season rumor. The perception among some analysts and people linked to the league is that he coldly assesses what he can still achieve and what conditions he needs to do so. The question is tough, but inevitable. Is the title window in Golden State closing? Is the franchise's future project aligned with the ambition of a player who has always maintained the highest level of competitiveness? Or does he start to look for one last big challenge elsewhere? For a Warriors fan, that possibility hurts. Curry is not just a star. He is the face of the franchise's transformation, the symbol of the culture that made the team rise from irrelevance to become a global reference. He is the one who filled gyms, became a drawing on children's shirts, changed the way basketball is played. Thinking about him wearing another shirt is, in practice, imagining the end of an era. On the other side, in offices spread across the league, the scenario is completely different. If there is any sign of availability, even if distant, there are general managers willing to dismantle rosters, sacrifice the future, give up draft picks, all in the name of a chance to bring Curry. In the view of many people, opportunities like this are unique in history. Cost is not measured, impact is measured. Within the Warriors, the natural reaction is to try to keep their idol at any cost. Adjust speech, rethink plans, show that there is still a competitive project, that the team is not just dependent on memories of the past. Kuminga's return, the development of other young players, the changes in rotations, all of this also communicates something to Curry. We are trying ing. But at a certain point in your career, it's not just the effort that counts, it's the result. That's why this specific moment in the season carries such weight. At first glance, it seems like just another difficult stretch of the calendar. Injuries, tactical adjustments, the return of an important player. But when you put all the pieces together, you realize that what's at stake is much more than a few more or less victories. We are talking about the way the franchise reacts to adversity, the message it sends to its greatest player, and how much it is capable of showing, with actions, that there is still a high-level path ahead. Kuminga, in this context, assumes a symbolic role. He represents what the Warriors can be from now on, a team that doesn't just live off the genius of a veteran, but that builds around him a nucleus capable of sustaining intensity, physicality, defense, transition. Every good performance by him, every game in which he shows evolution, is an argument in favor of the idea that the future of the franchise is not just an echo of the past, but something new under construction. Curry, meanwhile, remains the fixed point around which everything revolves. Even at 37 years old, he continues to attract double markings, tripling the opponent's defensive attention, opening space for teammates who, often, are unable to take advantage of these gaps as they could. His presence changes the game even when the ball doesn't fall as usual. This is precisely why your health, your level of confidence, and your degree of satisfaction with the project are so crucial. In the end, Golden State is experiencing three stories at the same time. The attempt to keep the team competitive now, the need to develop the next nucleus that will sustain the franchise for the next few years, and the mission to convince its biggest star that it is worth staying until the last chapter. None of these tasks are simple. They all happen at the same time, under the watchful eye of the entire league. What will happen from now on? Will Kuminga be able to establish himself as an essential part of a team that still dreams big? Will the Warriors' offense find a new level of efficiency without relying so much on Curry's historic nights? Will the board be able to show, in practice, that there is a consistent plan that justifies the permanence of the franchise's biggest idol? These are the questions that will shape the coming weeks and months. And that's precisely why every injury, every return, every rotation adjustment, and every statement takes on greater meaning than usual. We're not just watching another season. We are witnessing a turning point in one of the most remarkable stories in the modern NBA. If you want to follow this soap opera chapter by chapter, understand not only the numbers, but the context, the behind-the-scenes decisions, the tactical readings, and the emotional impact of all this for the fan, this is the right place. Take the opportunity to subscribe. Leave your like and comment on what you believe the Warriors need to do at this moment. Reinforce the squad? Change the way you play? Betting on young people once and for all? Or think of a completely new path? Because one thing is certain, any decision made now will not just affect this season. It could very well change the future of the Warriors forever. And with Stephen Curry at the center of this equation, every move counts. And that is why at this very moment, the Golden State Warriors are facing an invisible line. On the one hand, the continuity of an epoch-making dynasty. On the other, the real risk of seeing this story change direction forever. The combination of Kuminga's future and uncertainty about Stephen Curry's next steps is not just a behind-the-scenes detail. It's the kind of situation that could redefine the Warriors' place in the NBA for years to come. If the franchise gets its decisions right, there is still time to write new chapters of greatness. If you get it wrong, this may be remembered as the point at which everything began to unravel. You who follow, feel this. Every piece of news, every rumor, every little update about Curry's health or Kuminga's role seems to carry more weight than usual. It's not an exaggeration. It's the reality of a team that was once the standard of excellence and now needs to prove again that it is capable of reinventing itself without losing its essence. And it is precisely in these moments of doubt that the real fan is present, not only to celebrate, but to understand what is at stake, demand direction, and also believe when there is still room for reaction. So if you want to continue following this plot twist in real time, don't stop here. Once this video ends, go straight to the Golden State Warriors News Today playlist, which is in the pinned comment. There you will find a complete sequence of analyses, updates, and behind the scenes to understand every movement of the franchise, every change in the rotation, every sign of what could happen with Curry and the future of this team. Click on the PLA list in the pinned comment, binge the episodes, and always stay one step ahead, knowing everything that really matters about the Golden State Warriors. Because when the final decision comes, whether it's from Curry, the front office, or the season itself, you don't want to hear the story from others. It will mean, I followed everything from the beginning,